The 1K17 Szhatie was developed in the late 80s as a mobile laser, a battlefield-ready way to disable the optical electrical equipment on planes, vehicles, and missiles. The Soviets got so into the possibilities of the program that its development was one of the best-kept secrets in the USSR, at least until defectors to the West smuggled drawings with them. The key to the tank was its laser, which depended on an astounding 30 kilograms of artificial rubies to focus. This would have made the tank so expensive that mass-producing them would have been impossible. It also needed a clear line of sight, something virtually impossible to get in combat. Over a decade of development didn't amount to much, and when the Soviet Union collapsed, so too did the Szhatie. One was scrapped, the other went to a museum. The tank used an intense laser beam to disable the optical electronic equipment of the enemy vehicles. This was created by focusing light through 30 kilograms of artificial rubies, which made the whole system very expensive to produce. The optics that produced the laser were placed at the end of a silver-coated spiral, which helped amplify the beam and increase convergence. The energy to power the laser was provided by a generator and an auxiliary battery system. The lenses themselves were able to operate in different environments by moving metal caps closer to protect the lens. It was also equipped with a 12.7mm NSV machine gun to defend itself against attacks by infantry and air. A similar laser system was also developed around the same time named Sangvin, which was based on the ZSU-23-4 self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. TSAR Bomb, in Russian, and 0 at -1 lira 10, is the Western nickname for the Soviet RDS-220-220 hydrogen bomb, codenamed Vanya. Detonated by the Soviet Union on October 30, 1961, TSAR Bomb is the largest nuclear device ever detonated and the most powerful man-made explosion in history. With a yield of 50 megatons of TNT, TSAR Bomb was the culmination of a number of hydrogen bomb tests conducted throughout this time by both the Soviet Union and the United States. TSAR Bomb was also referred to as Kuzkinamat C7L8=00BL, or Kuzma's mother. This nickname may refer to Nikita Khrushchev's promise made at a 1960 session of the United Nations General Assembly to show the United States a Kuzkinamat, which also roughly translates to "will show you." There were many other nicknames associated with TSAR Bomb, such as Big Ivan, Project 7000, and Product Code 202, as Delia 202. The Central Intelligence Agency designated the TSAR Bomb nuclear test as Joe 111. With the US developing the SDI missile defense system, aka Star Wars, it fell to the Soviets to come up with a countermeasure. That turned out to be Polyus, a prototype orbital weapons platform designed to shoot down SDI satellites with a megawatt carbon dioxide laser. Polyus was duly launched in 1987, just 4 years after Ronald Reagan's Evil Empire speech kicked off the US development of SDI. However, the satellite failed to reach orbit, burning up over the Pacific Ocean. Mikhail Gorbachev had prohibited Russian weaponizing of space. The program was cancelled after the one launch, with the components being used for other Soviet-Russian space programs. Parts of the Polyus project's hardware were reused in Kvant-2, Crystal, Spectra and Perodomir modules, as well as in the IS modules Zarya and Nauka. Later, when the objective of ICBM interception proved too difficult, the aims of the project were shifted towards anti-satellite weapons. The 1983 announcement by the US of their SDI program prompted further political and financial support for the satellite interceptor program. In the nuclear exchange scenario, the interceptors would destroy the SDI satellites, followed by a so-called preemptive retaliation large-scale Soviet ICBM launch. Pondering a way to transport troops over inhospitable ground, Cold War engineers developed the idea of using giant corkscrews as treads. The problem was that while the tank could move decently through muddy or snowy ground, it was useless on roads or on flat, hard ground. It also could only go forward or backwards, couldn't turn, and was both incredibly slow and prone to breakdowns. The Soviets did use some in Arctic areas, but found them to be highly impractical in most other environmental contexts. These vehicles are notable for being screw-propelled vehicles, in Russian. H equals 5. E4, allowing it to traverse inhospitable terrains. The vehicle was designed to recover re-entered Soyuz space capsules from difficult terrain. The Lun-Class Ekranoplan, also called Project 903, is the only ground effect vehicle, JEV, to ever be operationally deployed as a warship. It was designed by Rostislav Alexeyev in 1975 and used by the Soviet and later Russian navies from 1987 until sometime in the late 1990s. It flew using lift generated by the ground effect acting on its large wings when within about 4 meters, 13 feet, above the surface of the water. Although they might look similar to traditional aircraft, ekranoplans like the Lun are not classified as aircraft, seaplanes, hovercraft, or hydrofoils. Rather, craft like the Lun-Class Ekranoplan are classified as maritime ships by the International Maritime Organization due to their use of the ground effect, in which the craft glides just above the surface of the water. The ground effect occurs when flying at an altitude of only a few meters above the ocean or ground. Drag is greatly reduced by the proximity of the ground, preventing the formation of wingtip vortices, thus increasing the efficiency of the wing. This effect does not occur at high altitude. The name Lun comes from the Russian word for the Harrier. The Lun-Class Ekranoplan was developed on the basis of the experimental KM Ekranoplan, which was nicknamed the Caspian Sea Monster. The Lun was powered with 8 Kuznetsov NK87 turbofans, mounted on forward canards, each producing 127.4 kN, 28,600 lbf, of thrust. It had a flying boat hull with a large deflecting plate at the bottom to provide a step for takeoff. It had a maximum cruising speed of 550 km per hour, 340 miles per hour. Equipped for anti-surface warfare, it carried the P-270 Mosquito guided missile. 6 missile launchers were mounted in pairs on the dorsal surface of its fuselage, with advanced tracking systems mounted in its nose and tail. The only model of this class ever built to completion, the MD-160, entered service with the Soviet Navy Caspian Flotilla in 1987. It was retired in the late 1990s and sat unused at a Caspian Sea naval base in Kaspiysk until 2020. The second Lun-Class Ekranoplan was partially built in the late 1980s. While its construction was underway, it was redesigned as a mobile field hospital for rapid deployment to any ocean or coastal location. It was named the Spasitel, Rescuer. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 and cancellation of military funding, construction of the second craft was halted. As of 2021, the uncompleted Spasitel is stored adjacent to the Volga River in an old industrial complex within the central Russian city of Nizhny Novgorod. The Lun design had several drawbacks. One was that although the ground effect enabled it to fly at low altitude, in order to utilize the effect it had to fly as low as 1.53.0 meters, 5-10 feet, off the water, due to its short wingspan, so it could not fly when seas were even mildly rough. Another was that the craft was only designed to use the ground effect principle, so it could not ascend to higher cruising altitudes. The requirement for calm seas to operate and inability to fly above them if they weren't greatly limited where it was able to deploy.